Hey, it's Ed with Slow Car Fix. I'm back working on my 55 Chevy. Trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Trying to figure out if I'm going forward on it or if I'm giving up. Let's see where I'm at. So I had an amazing outpour of support. I posted that last video trying to decide what I'm going to do on this 55, and I'm just floored with the response. I appreciate everyone for commenting. I appreciate everyone for being supportive, and even if they were thinking that I should pack it in and go on to a different shell or a different car, nobody was negative and really miserable about it or calling me an idiot or something like that. There's enough negativity in the world, so I appreciate all the positive feedback, whether it was for or against progressing on this project. So thanks for that. I do have a little bit of a mess here that I have to clean up. The back of the car is full of stuff, and before I even get into working on the back of the car and trying to straighten it out, I need to take all the crap out of it. I have my new brake is sitting here in the middle of the floor because my old brake is still where it is because my buddy hasn't had a chance to come get it. So when that goes, then this will go over on the other side where the existing brake is, but I might use that today. I've got an idea for it. We did get hit with some snow. Just going to turn my compressor on. We did get hit with some snow out here, so I've been dealing with that crap all day, but I've got to turn my compressor on because I forgot to. Coming up on the channel very soon, I'm going to be pulling the engine out of that Corsa and trying to figure out what the hell happened to it and why my brand new rebuilt engine that was installed before I bought the car failed. And I'm going to pull it apart, and I'll do a couple of videos on my misery, and I'll pull it apart and I'll figure out what happened to it. I'm not really worried about it because I really like that car, so whatever it needs, it's going to get, and that'll be a priority of the winter to get that back and running so it's not down. Yeah, let me just turn this compressor on. There you go. Okay, I'll come back on the quiet side while the compressor's running. Good point. Whenever you're building a shop or laying out your shop, put your compressor as far away from your work area as possible, because you want it somewhere where you can access it to drain it, but you also want it to stay the hell away from you so you're not listening to it all the time. Another thing I'm going to work on this winter is Slowbug. Slowbug is getting new seat covers and a new upholstery. My upholstery guy's very busy, so hopefully he can get a chance to do that. When I pull the seats out, I've got to fix the toe board. The toe board has some rot. A couple little things I want to do to it. The 64 Corvair, I don't like the power glide transmission in it, so I think in the spring I'm going to take a trip to the Corvair Ranch in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and pick up a new power glide transmission. But right now the focus is metal work on the 55 and deciding on what the heck is going on. So, like I said, there's a lot of mess here. I had a lot of good suggestions. Everyone seemed to like that I had the car jacked up on these stands. I did say in the last video that I don't have any body mounts in there. I do actually have them in there. They're in there just like this. They're just sitting there with no bolts in them. That's what I meant. I conveyed that wrong. But they are there. They're just sitting there with no bolts in them. The back two, I think the rubbers aren't there. I'm not sure. But I have them all, anyways, and they were in there when I was screwing around. But I'm going to cut this guy out of the way, this spare tire well. Look at the flex on this. Whee! So I'm going to cut that out of the way, and I'm thinking I'm going to put this plate back in here. This last 10 inches that I took out, I'm going to put that back in, and I think I'll make some sort of thing that ties this to that. I just have to watch. I was thinking about making a piece that goes underneath here, and a lot of people suggested different things and stuff, but I have to remember that there's going to be a gas tank going in here. It's not going to be the original gas tank, but or original style, but it'll be close because Tanks Inc. sells one That's for LS swaps for a Tri-5 Chevy. So that's the one I'm going to end up going with. So I got to do that in such a fashion that it's not going to interfere with the tank. So I need to look into how I'm going to do that. But I definitely want some sort of something to tie this into that. One of the best comments I got was, it's not original, and it's not going to be, so just make it whatever works. And somebody mentioned to look at race car videos and see how they just box everything in, and that's a good idea. So I don't know, we'll see what I can come up with. Yeah, so I'm almost back to where I was. One step forward, two steps back. I've got the pan tacked in at the back, and it looks all right. Like I'm gonna have a lot of weld to fill because you know, I've cut it out and put it back in and cut it out and put it back in, and then I just did that again about 2 or 3 times because I didn't like the way it lined up. I'm lining up trying to line up the stamp forms in the floor. Dan from DD Speed Shop commented, and he said something along the lines of stop thinking and start welding, which seems like something he'd say. Yeah, that's what I'm working on. Try not to overthink it. So I've got this sort of tacked in place. Let me show you what's going on. Okay, so what I was getting fussy about was I cut this out and welded it back in a couple times because this stamp didn't line up with this stamp. Now, mind you, like, I don't know, I might even carpet this friggin' thing, who knows? So I've cut out the spare tire well, as you can see, so that does help me a little bit. Gives me some access for clamps and such. You can see this is up and down like a toilet seat. It's all over the place. I hammered it down a little bit and tacked it in place. So the whole pan is tacked all the way across. But I need to come up with some sort of strength piece. From factory, there was a couple little scabs of sheet metal that went from here to here. And I don't know that they did a whole bunch, but I could do something like that. You know, some people said weld angle iron in underneath and whatever, and I thought about that too. But I don't think that that's really gonna help me, especially with the gas tank situation. I think I gotta get this thing sort of close, and then I really need to start working on the corners and do this pan in between, this, what's it called, in between, and then finish this sort of after, which seems counterintuitive, but the common thread, the common thought process on your comments was to get these corners in, get the piece across the bottom, close the trunk, see where everything is, make sure I've got everything the way I like it, put in the tail pan, like tack that in at that point, and then weld all in here, and then I'm gonna have to build the inner sides because you can see, like, I had some pieces scabbed in here, but I need to cut this out and just make like one piece that comes down. Do all that, and then this whole back thing is tied together. I can set my height with my adjustable screw jacks, which is cool. I can also use the hoist to lift the thing back up because it's on a scissor lift right now, in case you didn't notice. And then move on to the rest. But if I can get this, see that? It's magic. If I can get that happening, that'd be something. So, yeah, where to next? So, if I put this on here, like so, look, instant car. This has to go in there. That has to go something like that. Oof. This has to go something like that. Where's my clamper honor? There we go. Now we're talking. So now I have clearance between the trunk pan and this tail pan thing. So if I do as the internet says and tack this in place, close the trunk lid, and see where it sits, then I can adjust it up and down with the lift and the screw jacks and whatever the heck else I got going on here, and then tack this in place sort of underneath. That might be the way to go here. Some of you said you enjoyed my thought process and troubleshooting. What is that? I'm just figuring it out. So if we look here, you can see that now that I've got this clamped roughly in place, I actually think that's a little high, but you can see I've got clearance here, clearance. So I can move this up and down because this is not supported on the sides and tacked in place. It's just tacked all the way across. So if I get this where I want it to be, weld it in, tack it in, do the same on the other side. Yeah, that's what I can do. And then I can put the tail pan in, sort of set my elevation with the screw jacks and with the thing, and maybe we'll be able to pull a rabbit out of a hat on this ship box. Maybe. Maybe. I do really love these cars. I have no idea why. But I guess that's why I'm working on them. All right. Less talk, more work. So I gotta figure out where I'm gonna cut this turd out of here, or do I could do the old Fitzy cut and butt. If you guys haven't checked out Fitzy's channel, I enjoy his content quite a bit. He's from where my family's from, down east in Newfoundland. I enjoy that content, and he's a heck of a craftsman. But anyways, what he does is, and I've been doing this sort of for years, but he's got a little different approach. He cuts on an angle. I've always sort of cut straight in with the zip disc. You push your piece in, and then you tack the two pieces together when they're at the same height. You can feel them across your finger, they're at the same height. He cuts it on an angle, so that way it's an even tighter fit, because the tighter the fit, the easier the weld, right? That's, you know, especially if you're tigging. I'm not tigging, but especially if you're tigging it. You want that tight fit between the two panels. So that's an option. I could cut this in here, sort of push it in place, tack it, you know, and then that'd be kind of where I'm at, because it can kind of only go in the one spot by the look of it. And what you do is then when you've cut this through, you pull the piece out of the back, clamp it together if you can, and or push it in and just tack it. It's a little harder to do with this channel being here, but I definitely think that's the way I should go with this thing. These aftermarket panels are not 100% fit, but they're pretty good. Pretty close, really, especially for a car that everything moves. Definitely, I need this guy out more. Clamp it in place. I think I need to take that quarter panel back off and just make sure, yeah, that's pretty good fit there. So I can clamp that in here in this seam and tack that in. That was originally like lead filled on these cars, I believe. Yeah. Well, a little coffee left. Okay, I got something happening here besides a mess. One thing I did learn, I learned a couple of things from doing this thing, is my trunk key is a grinder. I tacked the deck lid to the oh, I need to clean up. I tacked the deck lid to the quarter panel just so I could get sort of where I wanted to be. And then I started welding. That didn't go very well. It didn't go very well because I'm forgetting there's lead seams in these cars. There's lead seams in all old cars, but right where I'm welding is right where the lead seam is. And I probably would have cut my panel a little differently if I had taken the lead out first. But all in all, it's okay. So let me show you. From here, looks good. You can see it's kind of flush here. It's pretty good. Like, you gotta remember, this has some paint and primer and crap on it. This has nothing, and it's gonna have filler and stuff on it. My gap here, don't mind me, I'm stepping on crap. My gap here is pretty good. I'm happy with it. I use these guys, these mixing sticks, and I usually just stick them in there that kind of gives me where gap I want to be. It's a little tighter here, but mind you, this is tacked in place right now, and this panel is going to move around. The gap down here isn't quite where I'd like it to be, but it still has to be tweaked. I still have to do that side, and then I put the tail pan in. The tail pan, you know, there's going to be a seam there, and then that's going to get some filler and stuff. So this is a little bigger than I'd like. I can get my finger in there, but you know what? For this deal, that's okay. So get the lead out, he says. Get the lead out. Well, this is a leaded seam. This is the lead I took out of it. It's all on the floor in this giant mess. Had I have been smart, which I'm not at times, I would have taken all this lead out first, and then maybe joined the seam, maybe drilled out the spot welds and actually installed it correctly. That being said, I don't know if I'm going to do that on the other side or not. I am going to take the lead out first, but I don't think I'm going to drill out the spot welds. I think I'll just cut. I still have a little tacking to do, like a little playing to do here. This is all done. I took the lead out here, welded that. That's all welded solid, and it's actually low. Now, mind you, I knew this thing had been hit right in this back corner. I've been saying that for a while. It's got screw holes from slide hammers and stuff. There also was a patch back here that was all leaded in, so it was hit, you know, long before there was using polyester fillers and stuff. So what I do to get the lead out is I use this little yellow torch here, and you just warm it, and the lead just literally runs to the floor. And you can use a brush to knock it off or whatever, but I just use a screwdriver. I'll probably show you that on the other side. So I've got this tacked here. This is low, which is what you want because this is going to get filler. I'm going to probably add some more weld right there, grind some more, you know, all that sort of thing. Play around. The inside is all, where that lip is all good. I'll have to do the same on this side, but what I'll probably do first is I'll grind all this, sand all this off, and then I will heat the area and take the lead out. But you can kind of see what's going on here. These quarter panels are sagged. And then when I looked at a guy I was talking to that has a bunch of shells, actually he's got a bunch of cars. When I talked to him, he sent me some pictures, and I noticed one of them, he's like, yeah, it needs trunk floors. And I noticed it on this side. It looked just like this right now. The one side gap was okay. This side, the quarter had dropped. The quarter had dropped, and it had, you know, same thing, you stick your fingers in on this side. And that's because the same thing happened. It rotted out in here, and, you know, rotted at the back, and then this whole thing just drops. So I guess it's common for these. Judging by the comments that I got, some people have run into similar garbage before. So at least I've got one side. I need to get the fan on. It's kind of smoky in here. I've got one side sort of happening. So that's cool. Maybe this will come together. Maybe. That's it for today, though, because I'm going to do this side tomorrow. I've got some stuff to do tonight. and I'll be back at it in the morning. But this is a mess. I need to clean this up before I go inside. Just a point of interest. My buddy Kyle put me on this. I used to just work and worry about cleaning up later. He said stop every now and then, give it a minute, and clean up, and you feel that much better about your project when you just walk out to a nice clean space, and everything's sort of, your tools are all put away, and everything's kind of cool, and you can get back in the headspace, and you're not climbing over yesterday's mess. So I'm bad for that. I'm working on it. So I'm going to do that right now. This is going to be a longer video, so I hope you're enjoying it so far. And yeah, I'm feeling better than I was the last time, so that's good news. Also, I'm going to have to, before I get carried away with, you know, final fit and finish, I'm going to have to get, I don't have any taillights. I'm going to have to get some taillights and taillight housings and, you know, make sure they all fit and stuff. And then I'll have to hammer the hammer and dolly and whatever the edge is to make sure that the taillights are actually going to fit before I start going, you know, putting filler on and that sort of thing. So this is something. This is I'm not sure what, but it's some sort of progress. feel like I'm getting somewhere. I've got both sides sort of mostly welded in, and the tail pan in. Not welded in, but in. The only problem is if I want to get in my trunk to get my luggage, I need a grinder and a zip wheel to cut the welds. But I'll fix that. So this time I tried to weld it more in where that lead seam was, and if you saw me peel the lead out, it's kind of a cool process. It's all on the floor. I still have a little more welding to do and a little more grinding, and then I'll have to get the bluing out and spray in the bluing and try and get it close. But this ultimately is going to get some fill, of course. The trunk right now is tacked where I want it to be. It's pretty good for straight. It's out just a touch on this side, and on this side it's dead flush, which is nice. So I like this side better, but hey, it's not a perfect car. It's not going to be perfect. So my gap is consistent on both sides. It's eyeball measured. I did start out measuring it with my feeler stick thing that I usually use, and then that got thrown out the window. There's a little bit of a gap here where these two panels are going to join. This isn't welded in or anything yet. This is just sitting there. So there's a little gap. This gap isn't bad. I don't mind. That's a little higher than I'd like. I don't like to get my finger in there. But I still have some adjustment on the trunk. And of course, where this joins this is going to be some filler and primer and paint and really, like, I like this. This is acceptable to me after primer and filler and all that stuff. This here is a little loose. The other side is actually pretty good here. This will get clamped down because if you can see, that's raised right now. So what I'm thinking, first of all, let's just say that I'm happy with this. This is more than acceptable. This is getting very fussy for a car that is going to be a patina shipbox. So this is okay. This is okay. So let me tell you about my theory here. So this is my theory, and it's not my theory, it's the theory of the commenters. If I tack this in place, right? So now I'll have to start down here because this is a tight fit at this point, and then I'll have to, maybe clamp it and tack up here, and then I'll have to just sort of work along to try and get this to kind of fit. I'm trying to salvage this tail pan that I already cut up, so it's not exactly ideal. Same thing on this side, tack the bottom, tack part way up, clamp it down so it fits better, and then tack it there. The theory, if it's welded on both sides, this tail pan's in the middle, it should hold the quarter panels out. And when I cut the tacks to open my trunk lid, maybe, just maybe, it'll stay close enough to the same where the trunk lid will open and close. If not, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. But I'm hoping. I've got ideas that if it does, I'm going to weld that in place with the trunk lid tacked. And if it doesn't keep its memory when I open this, I've got ideas about, jacking with a spreader to try and jack these apart at the top if it starts to curve in a little bit. The other thing that it is, once I get this sort of tacked and I'm going to open this trunk lid again, the elevation of these quarters is still held by these screw jacks, right? So there's still, some work to do there based on the floor pan. So the next thing that I would have to do, cut this, open it after this is tacked in, cut this, open it, tighten down my floor to the frame, lower the car on the screw jacks, or raise my lift, so the car sets on the floor, and then tie it all together, some series of stitch welds and crap. Will it work? I have no clue. But I don't know how far I'm going to get into that, but I am going to get into, I do want to see if this deck lid is going to open and close after I tack weld this in place. I'm really hoping that it keeps its memory and that this whatever this thing's called, this panel on the bottom, keeps everything, you know, separated, and I'm hoping that does it. So I'll tack this in. I'll bring you back when I get my key and cut these tacks, open the trunk lid. Well, that didn't really work. I cut the tacks and it popped like a coiled spring. Everything went back to where it was, and I think I know why. So, yes, I had the spacing set with the tail pan holding the quarter panels apart, but the whole thing would move then as a unit because it's not fastened to the floor. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So what I did was I bolted the floor down tight to the frame. I welded some angle iron across to tie the trunk and the floor, the trunk floor main part and the addition together. And then I've played, and let me show you. Okay, I can't show you the inside of the trunk right now because I just can't, because it's welded shut. Now, this is cool. I've got my gap better here. Remember I was complaining about this? I was complaining about this. And even over here where it was too tight or too loose there, that's better. So what I've got now is I've got this pan under here bolted tight to the floor. I've got it welded so it can't go anywhere. I've got this adjusted to where I want, and really the trunk lid is holding it there. I used a big giant pry bar and got leverage in here and pulled this out to where I want it to be, because what happened was as soon as I cut this tack, this went in and over. So I hate to put force on metal because it's just never really that good idea. Everything should sort of fit loose and just kind of go where it's supposed to go, but that's not the way this thing's going to go because it's been hit and everything else. Anyway, so what I'm going to do at this point is, now that I have it where I like, and this new floor pan is touching this tail pan, I'm going to tack that in. I'm going to tack the tail pan to the floor pan. I'm going to tack this piece into whatever the heck I can get to there. Nothing really. I'll have to make some sort of piece that goes in between here for now, because ultimately I have to do a big repair in here, which isn't going to be right now. But I need this to not spring back. I need it to stay where it is. So I might just make a little piece, or get like a little piece of something that's going to go and tie this together so it won't go anywhere, so it won't split. And I got to do the same thing on the other side. But like, look at the gap. Mind the gap. It's pretty good. It's certainly better than I thought it would get. Let's just see if we can keep it there. Wouldn't that be something? So that's my logic. Hopefully you guys are with me so far. I'm going to tack this in place so it stays there, because this is where I want it to be. And it makes sense. It's bolted to the frame, tightened down. Oh, there's no weight on my jacks. My jacks are just sitting here, so there's no weight on the jacks. And look, there's clearance between the leaf spring perch and the floor, which was the first problem. There's enough clearance I could leave my clamp in there that I forgot. So So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tack this all in place, and then I'll cut the tacks again, and hopefully that it doesn't spring like a spring. Other than that, you know, I'm pretty good with this. That's more than acceptable for this ship box. It's almost a little tight over here, actually. So I might cut this one tack and just give it a little whoomp over before because I really got to be set on this being where it is before I weld it. Success, finally. That's a lot of work, man. Jeez. I think we're good. I think we're good enough anyways. Sometimes your best just has to be good enough. Obviously, I've been sucking on too many welding fumes. Let me show you what I got. Okay, any of you people that do your own YouTube videos, you must know by now that GoPros really suck. They're completely unreliable, and occasionally they just break and potentially lose all your footage. So I'm really hoping that I didn't lose like 2 or 3 days worth of work on this car that I recorded. But anyways, I will show you my end result. Okay, so the tail pan's in, 2 side pieces are on. It sits sort of sprung right there, but then when I pull it down in the latch position, it's pretty good. Gaps are all good. My tacks all line up. And yeah, I'm happy. It's all progress, and it's not fun, but I'm getting there. And maybe there's a future for this car after all. Okay, thanks for watching, and yeah, I guess I'll catch you on the next one.